I don't know what Mr. Zachary is going to do, but if there is elicited testimony about my client, stuff about what Mr. Zachary said about my client or to the police or at my client's prelim or at a prelim in general, I am moving for a mistrial. I am of the opinion that the state will have goaded me. I'm putting them on notice. Don't do that.
I'm not a lawyer, but day 124 of the YSL RICO trial has also made me never want to become one. The clip I just played is how the day started, and it only got worse from there. Attorney Love finished direct examination of Antonio Sledge, and at first, she focuses on asking questions about what Sledge remembers the night of Donovan Thomas's death, but then she plays video from the day Antonio Sledge accepted his plea, and I think the focus is on how much he really did or did not understand.
Who is it that you think you remember you met up with after Donovan Thomas was killed? Do you remember whether Quindarius Zachary was there?
I think Quindarius Zachary was there when I got there.
Shannon Stillwell was there.
I still don't remember if Shannon Stillwell was there because I didn't see him personally with my eyes, so I still don't remember if he was there or not.
Diamante Kendrick was there.
No, I think Mr. Kendrick was not there when I got there.
And Kenneth Copeland, was he also one of the persons that met up with you, Shannon Stillwell, Diamante Kendrick, Quindarius Zachary, and Defendant Williams at Defendant Williams' condo?
Yes, he was there.
What did y'all talk about at the condo when y'all all met up?
I don't basically remember the conversation that we was having, but I don't remember the conversation.
Did you talk about with the people you met up with the fact that Donovan Thomas had been murdered?
Yes. I just know the conversation with me and Kenneth Copeland was the one responsible for it. I just remember Mr. Williams telling me that we ain't had nothing to do with it. Go down now.
Who is the we?
Me and Kenneth Copeland.
Okay. And do you know how it is that Mr. Williams is able to tell you that you all don't have anything to do with it?
He wasn't directly like trying to tell us what to do. He just was basically saying, don't go to the show and go down there and clear our name.
Did you take Mr. Williams' advice?
I dropped Copeland off and I went on about my business.
We're on the record in the matter of the state of Georgia versus Antonio Sledge in 22 SC 183572.
Are you at this time taking or under the influence of any alcohol, drugs, or medication?
No, ma'am.
How old are you and how far have you gone in school?
I'm 41, 10th grade.
Are you able to read, write, and understand the English language?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you understand that you are charged with the following offenses?
Yes, ma'am.
Conspiracy to violate the Racketeer Influenced and Corrupt Organizations Act,
Yes, ma'am.
as well as possession of a firearm by a convicted felon,
Yes,
as
ma'am.
listed in count 30 of this indictment.
Yes, ma'am.
Have you had enough time to speak with your attorney, Mr. Derek Wright, about all of the facts and circumstances known to you regarding the charges in this indictment?
Yes, ma'am.
Any potential defenses?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you need more time to discuss this case with your attorney?
No, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
And is that your signature on page 7 of 7 of State's Exhibit 1AS?
Yes, ma'am.
Defendant shall testify truthfully about each statement contained within defendant's factual acknowledgments and any matters related to this case when asked to do so in any proceeding related to the facts alleged in this indictment. Have you had an opportunity to go over each one of the defendant's factual acknowledgments and make corrections where necessary?
Yes.
And do you now acknowledge under oath that each of the factual acknowledgments that you have initialed in this section are true and correct and accurate to the best of your ability?
Yes, ma'am.
I freely, knowingly, and voluntarily enter into this agreement without force, threat, or coercion. Is that the statement that you acknowledged in this agreement?
Yes, ma'am.
And is that the statement to which you sign your name underneath?
Yes, ma'am.
After Attorney Love finishes up, Max Schardt is up first for cross-examination, and he emphasizes what exactly was going on in Antonio Sledge's life around the time that he accepted this plea deal.
Just please listen to my questions and then answer truthfully, okay?
Yes.
Mr. Sledge, I'm going to ask you to go back to December 28th of 2022. Now, that is the day that you pled guilty, correct?
Yes.
All right. What day were you arrested?
I want to say May 27, 2022.
So on December 28th of 2022, when you initialed those documents, you had been locked up for 7 months.
Yes.
Where were you held?
At the Fords County Rice Street.
Generally speaking, is that a nice place to be?
No.
Is that a dangerous place?
Yes.
Is that a filthy place?
Yes.
On December 28th, 2022, there were some things going on in your life.
Yes.
That your mother was ill.
Yes.
You have 8 children, is that correct?
Yes.
Did you have a significant other at the time?
Yes.
The money that you paid your attorney, you knew it wasn't enough for him to go to trial on this long case, correct?
Yes.
This line of questioning about the money that Sledge paid to his attorney starts to create some back and forth between Max Schardt and Attorney Love, but ultimately the point that Max Schardt makes is that some of the defendants who relied on public defenders were severed from this case because the public defender system hadn't assigned them one. And so they, by no choice of their own, could not move forward with being a part of this trial because they couldn't afford an attorney and the system hadn't given them one. So Max Schardt is arguing that this was an added reason for Antonio Sledge to accept his plea deal. So Whitaker allows Max to make this point in front of the jury, and then court continues. And Max begins focusing on the details of Antonio Sledge's plea, plus why he says Antonio Sledge made this video that the state played yesterday, which was directed at Shell Kell.
Being in Rice Street for 7 months prior to your plea, did that put pressure on you, plead, to accept this deal?
Yes, a lot.
Being separated from your sick mother and your children, did that create pressure, plead guilty on December 28, 2015?
Yes.
December 28, 2022.
Yes.
The fact that you had not hired an attorney for trial, did that create pressure on you to plead guilty on December 28, 2022?
Yes.
All right. I want to talk to you about the plea offer. And the state's plea offer was for probation.
Yes.
Probation is you don't have to be in custody. You're released.
Yes.
In your mind, that's preferable to prison.
Yes.
That's preferable to sitting in Rice Street jail, correct?
Yes.
Probation would get you back to your family,
Yes.
get you back to your ill mother,
Yes.
and that would solve your issues as far as hiring an attorney to try the case.
Yes.
There were factual acknowledgments that you would have to initial to receive that offer of probation, correct?
Yes.
I'm not trying to embarrass you. You're a smart man, okay?
Right.
But you did indicate you didn't know what the word notoriety means.
Yes.
And you've also just said you didn't know what the word coercion means.
Yes.
I'm going to ask you to look at factual acknowledgement 1. On the last line, does it have the word notoriety?
Yes.
I'm going to look at factual acknowledgement 5 on the last line. Does it say notoriety?
Yes.
I'm going to ask you to look at number 16. Does that say notoriety?
Yes.
And look at the last word on page 6. Does it say coercion?
Yes.
And those are words to this day, I guess before this trial maybe, that you never knew the meaning of.
Still don't know the meaning of them.
Some of the acknowledgments that you did not agree with, the state refused to change, correct?
Yes.
And you wanted to go home.
Yes.
Did you let those disagreements get in the way of you getting home to your sick mother?
No, because I wanted to go home to my sick mother.
You watched a video of your plea earlier today, correct?
Yes.
Weren't there times during that video where you were saying yes, ma'am, before Miss Love even asked a question?
Yes.
Why were you saying yes, ma'am, if you disagreed with the factual acknowledgments?
I was just trying to get home to my sick mother.
You testified that your attorney told you that you could explain those disagreements later, correct?
If I was called into the stand, yes.
Let's talk about this plea agreement. If you initialed the factual acknowledgments and entered a plea, the agreement was the state was going to recommend 15 years of probation, and that meant that you would get out of jail immediately.
Yes.
Your plea is to testify consistently with the factual acknowledgments you signed that you say are not true.
Yes.
And according to this agreement, if you fail to testify consistently with those acknowledgments, the state can move to revoke your probation, correct?
Yes. Revoke it and send you to prison.
Let's talk about the agreement for count 30, possession of a firearm by a convicted felon. Sentencing was withheld, correct?
Yes.
So you weren't, even though you pled guilty to count 30, you were not given a sentence.
Yes.
And your understanding is if you testify in accordance with this plea agreement, the state will dismiss that case.
Yes.
Even though you've already pled guilty to it, the state will go back, let you withdraw your guilty plea, and dismiss the case.
Yes.
Number 4 says, defendant understands fully that if prior to the conclusion of the initial trial of this case, defendant fails or refuses to testify to any fact that he acknowledges in his plea agreement, such failure or refusal nullifies any promise made by the district attorney to no pros count 30 of this indictment and may result in defendant being sentenced to serve as much as 35 years of confinement in the Georgia Department of Corrections / prison. Why did you initial it?
Because I wanted to get home to my mother.
Showing you a document marked DS-36. Back in 2015, was there a young lady that you were involved with?
Yes.
What was that young lady's name?
Treva. She at the top of the photo.
And do you see yourself in DS-36?
Right there to the left.
Okay, and who's the other gentleman in the bottom right on DS-36?
That's Kel. I've been dating since probably like 2009, but as a relationship, probably like 2013.
At some point, did she start dating another man?
From my understanding, yes, Kevin Watt.
Was she dating, and I'm not trying to embarrass you, was she dating you first or Kelvin Watts first?
Me.
Do you know from your vantage point when she started dating Kelvin Watts?
I don't know at the time when she started dating.
You found out that she was dating Kelvin Watts. Did you immediately break up with her and say, no, I don't have anything to do with you? Or did you keep having a relationship with her?
We kept conversating.
Did the fact that you and Mr. Watts were simultaneously dating Miss Smith, did that create problems between you and Mr. Watts?
Yes.
Okay. Did that lead to an internet back and forth between you and Mr. Watts?
Yes.
At some point in 2015, did you hear that Mr. Watts was looking for you?
Yes.
And was all that revolving around your rivalry over Antrevia Smith?
Yes.
You remember when the state played a video of you and Mr. Zachary with guns?
Yes.
We ain't really going back and forth no nigga. You little bitch ass nigga. I know we hate. I'm never well. Yeah, fuck you nigga, Cal. Whoever else, nigga. One nigga. Whoa. They said I ain't really going back.
Back in 2015, were you a little bit emotional about the situation?
Yes.
You intended for Mr. Watts to see the video.
Yes.
In that video, did you ever hear anyone say YSL?
No.
Did you ever hear anyone say gang?
No.
And you made that video because you were mad at Kelvin Watts because he was running his mouth?
Yes.
Because y'all were dating the same woman?
Yes.
Factual acknowledgement 4. Let's look at that, and that's on page 3. That night, April 28th, 2015, I believe you testified you were at the club. Demekion Garlington was jumped by certain individuals. Demekion was upset, correct?
Yes.
You drove to the first house on Landrum where Summer Good was because Quindarius Zachary wanted to protect his girlfriend.
Yes.
And once you saw people shooting at the house, Demekion Garlington and Quindarius Zachary wanted revenge, right?
Yes.
Quindarius Zachary wanted to go back at the people that were shooting at his girlfriend.
Yes.
And Demekion Garlington wanted to go back at the people who he felt jumped him in the club.
Yes.
That was personal revenge, correct?
Yes.
Jeffrey Williams didn't instruct you to go drive to any houses that night?
No, Jeffrey wouldn't know nothing about it.
The reality is what happened on April 28, 2015 was done on behalf of Demekion Garlington, who got jumped in the club.
Yes.
Was done on behalf of Quindarius Zachary, whose girlfriend was getting shot at.
Yes.
Okay, let me ask you, before you signed these documents on December 28th, you moved for bond on this case, correct?
Yes.
You moved for bond on October 13th, 2022, correct?
Yes.
And the state opposed your bond, right?
Yes.
They said that you were a danger to the community. They said you were a threat, and you were denied bond.
Yes.
On the bottom of page 6, I freely, knowingly, and voluntarily entered into this agreement without force, threat, or coercion. Pressure. Not true, is it? You were pressured.
It's pressure.
In fact, you were pressured into signing a document that claims that you're entering the agreement without pressure.
Yes.
And all of a sudden, on December 28th, after you initialed these statements, the state recommended a signature bond. Isn't that correct?
Yes.
A signature bond means you get released and you don't even have to pay any bond at all, right?
Yes.
Have you ever been able to figure out what made you so dangerous before December 28th?
Sustained.
I have no further questions. Thank you.
All right.
Brian Steele does the final cross-examination of the day, but Attorney Love objects the entire time. So here's my version of how Brian Steele's cross-examination went.
You know what that means? Two parts of America.
Objection, Your Honor. Objection, Your Honor. Your Honor.
You and others are going home. Either of these items?
There is no year of 2015, as Mr. Steele has suggested, unless I'm missing it. If you could just show me, I'd be okay.
First of all,
Yes.
do you know who that person is?
Rod Wade.
And is that similar to what you showed the jurors?
Yes.
You remember discussing with the jurors that you've seen Nickelodeon slime? Do you remember that?
Yes.
Objection.
On Cleveland.
Objection. Objection, relevance. Objection, speculation.
Oh my God.
Sustained.
Objection, improper question. Objection, objection as to.
You know what that means? Know about that.
Objection, one, that calls for speculation. Two, I can approach, Your Honor, because that.
Okay, I mean, it doesn't, that one does not call for speculation, but if you have some other issue, then
I don't
I'll
need to
go
approach,
ahead.
Your Honor. I'm going to continue.
Your Honor, because I have an objection that I need to put on the record.
Okay.
I would rather not stop because that's all Ms. Love does. I'd rather continue. I'll waive that.
Well, we're gonna approach. And I do wish that both of y'all, I mean, y'all clearly get under each other's skin and try to divorce from the case the fact that each of you is the attorney handling certain evidence or certain witness, because honestly, both of you probably would do your tasks for your clients better if you could focus a little less on the fact that y'all get on each other's nerves, okay?
Child, they'll be back on Monday, but I might not be.